Here's a comment and a couple questions that I promised to answer, posted on the video. The White Violin, Judgment Day. I always find it kind of odd in a way, judging the sound of a new instrument. I think of the Stradivarius and Guarnerius violins and wondered, how did they sound when they were made? And how they have changed over time with repairs and modifications, like making them compatible with high-tension strings of later periods and etc. Not to mention how they are played, or if they are not played. Who played them, and how does that affect their development? I understand it can take some hours of playing to fully wake up the voice of Il Canon. What does time do to these instruments? And can an instrument grow into something far greater than it started? The answer, for the most part, is wonderful. Yet there is a catch which has been so misunderstood by so many for so long. When master violins are first played, their voices are fresh and glorious, and almost as good as they will ever be. Sometimes this euphoria lasts for just a few moments, and other times for a day or two. Then, no matter how fabulous the varnish and the craftsmanship, or how old and properly cured the wood, over the next few days, the sound will almost always lose its charm. At this point, a new sound post is installed, and the sound becomes almost as wonderful as in the beginning, yet usually not quite. Then, after playing this almost fabulous instrument for the next 3 to 6 months, its voice will usually choke, sometimes quite abruptly. And that's when the final sound post is installed. If it is a master violin, the results can be spectacular, sometimes magical. And at this point, its voice should be able to compete with the finest instruments. I say this, yet over the next year or so, if loved and played well, the tone and response will almost always improve even more. Ever so slightly. Yes, there have been quite a few Stradivarius and Guarnerius violins that have been ruined by repairs and modifications. Yet the dirty little secret is that there are also others that sound better today than ever before, because of the repairs and modifications. The advantage of Stradivarius and Guarnerius is that once authenticated, instead of simply judging the quality of an instrument and that's that, it becomes the test of a dealer's reputation to make sure that they sound the way that a Stradivarius and Guarnerius should. And dealers will spend any amount of time and effort to accomplish it. Cheaper instruments by unknown makers would have been given to students or even thrown away if they needed a neck graft. There are dozens of journal entries by renowned and reputable dealers who were literally forced into laminating or regraduating some very original instruments in order to get them to speak. Some of this was caused by the changes in neck angles and string lengths, yet other times, Stradivarius and Guarnerius were simply experimenting and willing to take some chances with the long-term results. Yes, sometimes they burned at these experiments, yet other times, the instruments were sold without labels. If cared for properly, violins love to be played, and the better the musician, the more we can hear it in their voices. At the same time, There have been claims from renowned musicians, especially in the 1800s, that they had played their violins so much that they were played out. Yet I have never found one. Instead, I found that the claims were almost always from musicians who went on tour from climate to climate and adjusted their own sound post. So much, in fact, that the inside of the belly was so chewed and uneven that the sound post could no longer seat properly. After selling these instruments, usually at a large discount, or giving them away to students, a sound post or chest patch was all it took to restore their voices as good as ever. And every instrument had a large glass case sealing it in, with no way of ever getting it out. To a curator, the collection was magnificent. To a master luthier or a musician, it was as if the greatest souls in history had been buried alive. Yes, violins respond and sound better after great musicians play upon them. There is something about the vibrations created by pure full tones and how it affects the flexibility and response of the wood over time. Yet, this difference analytically is ever so subtle, while at the same time, never underestimate the effect on a musician's mind of knowing that one, or in some cases, many of the greatest violinists in history have owned and performed upon a particular violin. Plus, that it was made by a master luthier 300 years ago. Bruce Carlson, the curator of Paganini's canon, made that statement because the canon is stored with the strings detuned, though even after the strings settle back in, it does take longer than most violins because the belly and the back are so thick. Most fine violins do take a few minutes to wake up, especially if the green room is below 67 degrees. But that's not the whole story. The rosin on the bow also has to warm up. And most importantly of all, is for the musician to warm up, clear their mind, and become one with the instrument. It's undeniable that violins love getting older, and that most musicians love older violins more. They just can't help it. There are modern exceptions, yet they are rare. And who can deny that most of what makes a Stradivarius and Guarnerius worth millions of dollars is the name of these two makers and their places in history? Can an instrument grow into something far greater than it started? The answer is yes, absolutely. Yet most of it is in our mind.